Okay, well, hello, and it's Sunday, and what I mean by that is we are finishing up chapter 23, and what we're hoping to do here, of course, is bring you back to last Wednesday when we had finished. We'd gone through most of 23. I mean, sort of in terms of difficulty, chapter 23 isn't all that great. Remember, these are just diffusion laws, and we're trying to figure out what's going to make oxygen available. And hopefully what you've taken away so far is it's the presence of hydrogen protons that will increase the amount of oxygen that's available as we're going along. So to see what this means, okay, let's see. We move now to our next slide here, right? So this is that potentially confusing slide, but really what I want you to make sure you understand is that if here is you, right? Here's you, yay. And you have some lungs, woohoo. And remember, you have this differential pressure gradient that changes as a result of inhalation and exhalation. So inside your lungs, remember, every single red blood cell is passing into your lungs that has the responsibility of exchanging gas that you've inhaled, and that is the oxygen you've inhaled, and you're going to exhale that carbon dioxide out. And what I want to make sure people understand is that as that oxygen moves in, notice what it's doing is it's pushing a hydrogen off of the hemoglobin, and that makes oxyhemoglobin, and that hydrogen proton will now make what was once bicarbonate inside of those cells. Remember, 70% of all the carbon dioxide inside of your body is being transported this way. And now you can actually exhale that carbon dioxide, making sure you pay attention to the fact that chloride is moving in the same direction as the carbon dioxide is moving. So now this red blood cell is going to travel all the way down to, let's go here, travel all the way down to, let's say, your big toe. And at your big toe, remember, we have a capillary bed, and that capillary bed, we will now allow that oxygen to come off of the red blood cell because there's such a saturation event of carbon dioxide here. Chloride ion moves in, you push that hydrogen proton off of the carbonic acid that has been made here, and that's going to now allow oxygen to be pushed off of hemoglobin, and now oxygen will move down its concentration gradient to bind to the mitochondria here. And that's where our story picks up. So I'm going to show you a slide next. I got this from somewhere. Somebody sent it to me so I could show it to you guys. And let's get rid of the cartoons. Get rid of that. Okay, actually, let's get rid of me. This is bothering me. Okay, nope, not what I wanted to do with that. It's hiding. Fantastic. What I want to do is show you this now, right? So this is the big deal. You know, when we talk about the atmosphere that you're living in and how it is you actually move all of the gases around. This is a patient's room, and that patient, where'd the cat go? The patient looks like they actually have a nebulizer on, and that is the high concentration of gases that are being pushed into their lungs as a result of probably failing diffusion inside of their lungs, or respiration. And remember, that's external respiration that's occurring inside your lungs. Internal respiration, or cellular respiration, occurs inside your capillary beds. So when you're walking in, this is what you see, and this is what they're talking about when they're saying that different materials, pathogens, can pass in an atmosphere, and you can imagine walking through that and that coating the outside of your body. Likewise, what I've said at the beginning of this lecture, the previous one, maybe last Wednesday, is if you inhaled this, anything that's inside here now travels through, and this is why you want your mucous membranes. They literally do secrete those mucosal materials to capture this before it actually gets into your lungs. Okay, so now we need to think about what control of respiration is. This is the stuff that I knew we were getting close to the end of class, so I just wanted to make sure that you guys weren't getting too overwhelmed by it. But when you get to the end of chapter 23, you can see here that locations of the respiratory center can be found not only inside the medulla oblongata, but you can find them inside the pons as well. Okay? And what's significant here is Mother Nature is separating these two locations so that she can regulate how it is. You increase or decrease the depth of your respiration. Okay, and you're going to see here they're all delineated for you: your ventral respiratory group, your dorsal respiratory group, as well as your pontine respiratory group. And a real simple way to remember this is they work antagonistically with one another. That's the easiest way to think about it. Important for you to realize is what you're seeing is, look, here's that phrenic nerve that's innervating the diaphragm specifically, right? I want you to make sure you understand that obviously we cut that, fine well. Respiration using diaphragmatic muscles would of course be limited, okay? But you still have some other mechanisms to inhale and exhale, okay? So what are those respiratory groups and how do they actually work? This is normal, quiet breathing on the left-hand side of the screen as you're facing it. And the dorsal respiratory group is what's responsible for that. And normally it's about 2 seconds for diaphragmatic muscles and external intercostals to contract. And now you're going to have an inhalation. And now what happens is the relaxation of these muscles does not require any extra effort. And you'll notice your average exhalation should be a normal, quiet exhalation where the recoil inside the lungs is what actually drives this. Now, things can get pretty tricky depending upon what you're doing inside of your body. You can have a forceful inhalation, and over here you can have a forceful exhalation. And this would be while you're running, pained running, and even running, even when you're comfortable, but you still need more gas inside the body, right? Where at some point in time, even if you're a practiced marathon runner, you are not using normal quiet exhalation here. You're using forced exhalation. And then you're going to have your dorsal respiratory group communicating with the ventral respiratory group such that you will regulate. Here is the diaphragmatic muscles and the external intercostals working in conjunction with sternocleidomastoids, the scalene, the pectoralis minor muscles, right? And that's because the respiratory group, the ventral respiratory group, is now signaling that. You can also cause the internal intercostal muscles, external obliques, internal obliques, as well as transverse abdominis and rectus abdominis muscles to now cause a forceful exhalation. And you've experienced this anytime you've actually run sprints or whatever it is you were doing. You can feel those muscles forcefully pushing the gas out of your body, and that's what they're trying to do. So how are they doing this, and what are they actually detecting? Here is an image from inside your textbook where you can actually see, oh look, here's the aortic bodies, and you can see here the sensory axons of the vagus nerve, and you can see what's happening is along with the glossopharyngeal nerve, okay, they're working to collect primarily carbon dioxide and hydrogen proton concentration. They do detect oxygen concentration as well, but it's not nearly as important as change your respiratory groups. And that would mean that the chemoreceptors inside the aortic bodies, as well as inside the carotid bodies, are detected and transported via the vagus nerve and the sensory axons of the glossopharyngeal. And notice we're talking about sensory here. We're not talking about the motor output, which would regulate the SA node and all of that. Now, if this is the case, I'm trying to finish this up for you so you guys can have this to be ready for Wednesday. What are the sensory stimuli that affect breathing? So voluntary hyperventilation is controlled by your cerebral cortex, right? Anxiety can cause this, and that's activation by the limbic system, right? An increased arterial partial pressure of carbon dioxide above 40 millimeters of mercury can cause an increase in the number of hydrogen protons. And that's what's going to be detected. So that stimuli will increase the breathing rate and the depth of the breathing rate. Now, some stimuli that decrease breathing rate as well as rate can be voluntary hypoventilation. And what this does, of course, is causes a decrease in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide below 40 millimeters, and that's what's going to cause the central chemoreceptors. This is actually what you're practicing at the beginning of an exam or the beginning of a practical when I'm asking you to think about voluntary hypoventilation as opposed to voluntary hyperventilation. Okay. Now, stimuli that can further do this is partial. It's the decrease in arterial blood concentration, partial pressure of oxygen, from 105 to 50. This can be increased by proprioceptors, increase in body temperature. Likewise, sudden change in the stimulus will cause a decrease. Okay, each of these things you've probably experienced. Okay, decrease in blood pressure, severe pain causing apnea, increase in blood pressure. Decrease in body temperature. If you want to try this one, go take a shower, shut off the warm water, turn on the cold water only, and pay attention to what happens to your body. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to do for chapter 23. And then what I wanted to do is say, okay, well, now we have oxygen, we have circulation, and now we want to move into what it means to think about digestion. And I'm not going to pull up any slides from chapter 24. Instead, what I want to do is I want you to think about how it is you get something that is made up of 4 macromolecules, okay? Depending upon what you had for dinner today, or imagine you haven't had any food yet today. Mother Nature has a series of mechanisms so that she can remind you that you need a certain amount of energy and you need to catabolize whatever it is you're ingesting into 4 macromolecules. That's the goal of your digestive system. Can you make amino acids available? Can you make carbohydrates available? Can you make, to a lesser extent, nucleotides or nucleic acids available? But definitely lipids. And each of these are going to be measured and they're going to be absorbed in different areas inside your digestive system. So one way I would ask you to think about it is, while you're thinking about what you may have eaten today, or what you're going to eat tomorrow, or what you'll eat Wednesday morning before class starts, is think about the fact that long before you ever sat down to eat it, think about eating it. Okay? I'm not even sure how to say this, but all I have to do is ask you to think about your favorite food, and then that's what we'll pick up in chapter 24. So I'm a couple minutes over what I wanted to do to finish up this chapter with you guys, but I hope you had a relaxing weekend. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will speak with you all at least on Wednesday. Okay? Take care now.